It wasn't like, one fine morning I woke up to the thought of doing MBA.
An MBA degree is somewhat mandatory to climb up the corporate ladder. So is it true or it's also a myth? What are your suggestions?
You'll have deadlines which have to be submitted at 6 a.m. in the morning, or sometimes you will have deadlines right at 2 a.m. in the night. So it might so happen that you have a sleep disorder kind of a thing for the first few months at least, if not the entire 2 years. So the numbers are not inflated or something. Particularly in the CTC, you will get to know about the CTC and not the enhanced salary, but you can get a rough idea of what the enhanced salary is.
Hello everyone. Today we have Himanshu Sekhar Mishra here, who is currently pursuing his MBA at XLRI Jamshedpur. And to be very honest, he is my college senior, and today we are going to have an interaction with Himanshu Bhaiya. So Himanshu Bhaiya, over to you. Tell us about your background.
Yeah, hi Vijit. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So I, as you told, like I graduated in electrical engineering from IST Shibpur in 2018. I actually post my graduation, I joined PwC India as an associate in the field of data and analytics, where I was working for multiple financial clients, both Indian and foreign clients. Then after working for almost about 3 years in PwC, I decided that I should go for my MBA, and that's how I landed up in XLRI Jamshedpur to pursue my MBA in Human Resource Management.
So what made you decide to opt for an MBA?
Right. So I mean, it wasn't like, one fine morning I woke up to the thought of doing MBA. It was a very gradual and organic step, to be very honest. Right from the days in my engineering, I was quite sure about the kind of field that I would like to go into. I realized after almost 2 years into the engineering, in my second year or third year, I realized that I would not like to continue in the technical domain, and I would rather like to explore the business vertical of the management. And that is when I, consciously took a lot of steps in curriculars and co-curricular activities. I worked on multiple extracurricular activities so as to get a hunch of what is expected from a management graduate maybe. And then as luck would have it, I got into PwC India. It was a campus placement at IIST, where I joined PwC as an associate. After experiencing a couple of years as a consultant in PwC, I realized that I probably, would be interested in getting to know into the business side of things in a much clearer and broader way. And that's how I realized that I should go for MBA. And this, as I told, working for multiple extracurricular activities in the college, coupled it with the kind of exposure I had at PwC, kind of made me realize that I would probably make use of these all technical aspects of my learnings over the years into management, and would like to have my learnings in the management domain. That's how I landed up in the MBA.
Okay, as you already answered that you wanted to go for an MBA during the second year itself. So why didn't you try for an MBA just after your BTEC? Why did you join PwC, and why did you join
Right. So there are two reasons for it particularly. First thing, I took CAT in the year 2018, which was my final year, but then it happened to be not of a very good percentile, and I realized that I would not get the best of the colleges in the country. I didn't take XAT at that point in time because my CAT score didn't really encourage me to take my XAT exam, and that's how I realized. And second reason was that I already had PwC in my hand. So I thought that why not explore into the corporate domain for a couple of years and then take XAT and CAT examinations, because I would also have the experience, and you'll have brownie points for those as well. And secondly, I would have the time to prepare during those 1 or 2 years, and that is how I landed up in PwC. Otherwise, had I have got a very good percentile in the final year of my BTEC itself, I would have probably given a second thought to join a B school at that point in time.
So, suggestion from your side, if somebody is interested to go for an MBA degree, right, and that person has realized that right during his undergraduate days, what should that person do? Should that person try for an MBA right after the BTEC, or should that person try to get a job experience before that? Because
That's
let's
a good
say
question.
yeah.
Yeah. So I understand your question. So that's a good question because people keep on asking that point. I think there are multiple perspectives to it. I would like to give my perspective, my point of view on that. If someone gets a very good percentile in the final year itself, my suggestion to him or her would be to join the B school particularly and not rather wait for a couple of years. There are a few reasons for that. Firstly, you never really know how the life is going to set after 2 years, and it might so happen that you are very much busy or occupied with your job and are not really getting the time enough to prepare for the best of the B schools, and your percentile might actually get down rather than improving over the years. It's not like, there's no rationale that you'd prepare for 2 years more and you would get better percentiles. It might so happen that your percentile reduces. Secondly, as a fresher also, you have a very fresh mindset. You have a different mindset, and there are many firms, particularly in the sales domain and the marketing domain, who are more than willing to take freshers rather than experienced graduates. So for those kind of roles, you in fact be more likely to get selected or get your CV getting more shortlisted in the summer internship process in the B school itself. So I think if someone has a good percentile, the suggestion would be to take the B school. If it is in the top 10 B schools of the country, then he or she shouldn't really think about the experience. I mean, yes, if you come from a corporate experience or from an industry experience, you would have a knowledge of how things work at the industry level. But then it may not really turn it in your favor, given the fact that you are so much occupied in the job. So if you are willing to take the risk, it's up to you. Otherwise, my straight answer would be, if you have got a good percentile and good enough and you have converted any of the top 10 B schools, then continue with that and then see how life takes.
Okay, that was an excellent answer to the question. So moving to the next question, when to go for an MBA and when not to go for an MBA? And what are the points to be noted before going for a B school degree?
Coming into the first question, when we should go for an MBA. As I told, firstly, if you have knack for the business aspects of things, if you want to take decisions from a managerial point of view, and if you want to see yourself in a managerial position, and secondly, if you are really interested in it, how do you see the interests? You see the kind of roles that the managers work in, particularly after the MBA. You do your own search. You search in the Google, you search in other websites, you search in YouTube, you search what the kind of person the people do after the MBA. You'd get to know what they do. So along that similar lines, if you have interest, then you should go for MBA. Secondly, if you have 1 or 2 years of experience in the corporate or in the industry, and you are kind of realizing that your job is getting monotonous over the years, or you would like to increase the number of options that you have in the industry in terms of job opportunities, then also you can go for an MBA. And when you shouldn't go for an MBA, I think firstly, if you are too much into the technical side of things, or you enjoy doing your technical work, then I think management would just be a push for you, and you would not really be enjoying it over the years. So that is when you should rethink about your decisions about whether you should go for an MBA or not. And secondly, if you are not agile, if you are someone who doesn't really like to change very fast over the things, then I think MBA would be difficult for you, because I have to give you a scenario. In B schools, even after B schools, you will probably have a fast-paced life, particularly someone who has done an MBA, because you will have a lot of pressure to deal with. So if you don't really want to deal with a lot of stakeholders as such, then I think management would not be a very good choice for you. I think these are the two things that's coming to my mind right now.
Okay. Yeah, what are the points that one should keep in mind before planning for a B school degree in India?
All right. For a typical B school, again in the top 10, top 15 B schools of the country, I believe I would just give you a few pointers. Firstly, the lifestyle would be a little different than what we generally have in corporates or in the undergraduate colleges. because you'll have deadlines which have to be submitted at 6 a.m. in the morning, or sometimes you will have deadlines right at 2 a.m. in the night. So it might so happen that you have a sleep disorder kind of a thing for the first few months, at least, if not the entire 2 years, for the first few years in the B school. Secondly, you'll have a really hectic first few months in the B school right after you join the B school, because you'll have too many things going on in and around. Like you'll have committee selections, you'll have a lot of guest competitions that's coming your way. You will have your summer internship process will be starting, which will be starting 2-3 months right after you join the B school, and you'll be getting introduced to the B school syllabus itself, which is again a little different from what we have studied in the undergraduates. So I think these are the things that someone should take care of, that you will have a little bit of disorder kind of a thing in these things, and you need to take care of all this. Yeah.
Okay. So moving to the next question. So there is a current trend in India that if you want to earn a huge amount of money, you need to get a MBA from a B school. And for that specifically, there are lots of technical people who leave their technical job and plan to go for a B school degree. So is this fact that MBA pays you a lot more, and is this motivation that solely for a better salary, leaving a good job which you enjoy, is it worth it? Is it worth to leave a good job and go for a B school degree solely for higher salaries?
That's a good question again, Vijit. I would like to address it in parts, and in case I missed the question, I would like to reiterate it whenever I get carried away with some other aspect of it. Firstly, you talked about someone. I would like to keep it crisp. If someone is enjoying a lot in the technical career of it, for example, think of a technical software engineer, or for a person who is working in an industry in the technical domain, then I think if you are enjoying too much in the job and you'd like to carry on that field itself, then I think MBA is not an option which he or she should continue with, because you will have very different roles. The roles and responsibility would change over the time. If you are someone who is dynamic, or if you are someone who would like to carry out a lot of different kind of responsibilities and roles, then I think MBA makes sense. But if you are into your job too much and you are liking it, then why not grow in that particular field? And I mean, yes, that's a trend in India that many of the people who are from technical domain, they switch over to the business line and go for MBA. But I think people miss out on this, that if you are particularly working in the technical domain, for example, you are a software engineer in one of the best companies in the country, then it would be really good if you carry on in that field, you develop your skill sets, and then move on vertically up in the career. In that way also you can earn a lot of amount of money. In fact, software engineers earn at par and even sometimes more than that what the MBA graduates are paid. And that again depends upon your interest. If you are losing out the interest in the job, then this makes sense. But if you are not and you are enjoying the job that you are doing, then I think my advice to someone would be to improve on your skill sets, and if at the worst case, go for a research degree or for a master's degree in the particular field that you are working at, rather than getting distracted and going for a very different course altogether, where you may not really have the relevant skill set or the interest, or both for that matter.
Okay, got it. So there is also another myth that if you are into a software industry, and if you are even working at one of the best companies in India or even abroad, if you don't go for an MBA degree, your promotions would be saturated at some point. And many people say that an MBA degree is somewhat mandatory to climb up the corporate ladder. So is it true, or it's also a myth? What are your suggestions into this?
With whatever little understanding I have of the business world at this point in time, I would like to give my perspective over this. I think firstly, after a certain period in your career, for example, you have worked in the software industry, I would like to bring it again, for almost say 12 years, and right now you're going to manage a unit, so to say, or a particular division or a geography. If you're managing such, you would require certain managerial skills, which is ideally believed to be taught in a B school. So in case some software engineer who has missed on the management learnings may not have that acumen of understanding. I am not demeaning anyone or not trying to tell that someone doesn't have that, but again, if you do not if you haven't studied that, so you may be not having that knack to understand the managerial side of it, and you may not be able to take the strategic decisions as well as a B school candidate. That is where business MBA knowledge comes into picture. That is where people are actually requested to go for executive MBA or for some certain courses which would help them increase their business knowledge. So I think it's not a roadblock as such, particularly if, as I told in the last question itself, that if someone wants to improve his career or go in the line of technology, or so to say in the industries, whichever particular skill set he or she is working at, it's better to continue with that. And after 10 to 12 years, if the job description demands you to get the business understanding, you can always go for an executive MBA or for a certain degrees which would help you understand your business acumen, particularly restricting it to that domain which you are working. Sometimes what happens in MBA, what we are taught is a lot of domains that we're working in, right? So that's why it increases the scope and the job opportunities. But when it comes to someone who is working in a particular domain and he or she is interested in working in that domain itself, then what he or she should do is keep working on that field if it interests them, and then carry out certain executive courses which would help them improve their business understanding in that role. So I think that should work.
Okay, so the key point that is to be noted is going for an MBA at a very early stage opens up lots of opportunities to switch the sectors. For example, if somebody is working in consulting, that person can move into FMCG, let's say. What's the ideal time to go for an MBA for a general dynamic working professional?
I think there is no ideal time as such. As I told, as long as you are able to crack the interviews and get the percentile that's desired, it's okay. Sometimes it takes around 4-5 years for someone right from the undergraduate, someone supposedly prepares and then works in the corporate for around 4 years. And at max, that continues to 4-5 years of the journey. Or sometimes you crack as a fresher itself. So it's just 1 year that you invest for the preparation and to get into the best of the business. Ideal time, if you say, so to say, in terms of sweet spot as to have a good work experience as well as to get, is somewhat around 9 to 24 months, I would say. Someone who has worked for 9 to 10 months would not have significant work experience, but would at least have certain learnings of what works in the corporates. And someone who has 24 months of work ex or around 2 years of work ex would actually also know the understanding of what happens in the corporate or in the whatever profession he or she is working in, as well as would not have work ex significantly enough in one domain to restrict himself to that domain. I hope that you are getting my point. Because if someone has working in the software field for around 4 years or 5 years, and then he comes for an MBA, then his mindset or his skill set would be completely confined to one of the domains, which is software technologies or for this consulting or whichever technology he or she was working in. But if someone works in the field for around 9 months or 24 months, then their limitation would be for only certain months, which are less than 3 years or 4 years. So I think this is my take on it. So ideal time period would be, in a nutshell, ideal time period for this would be around 9 months to 24 months. Anything between that works.
Next question is actually maybe the question for many people, especially in India. So as we know that the B school fees in the top premier B schools in India, top tier premier B schools in India, they're extremely huge. How can Indian students who are coming from extremely humble financial backgrounds but tremendous merit manage the same?
I think this is something that every average Indian student thinks of before going for the hefty loans or hefty amount of fees that any of these B schools take.
Yeah, because Indians are mostly driven by this financial causes. Because that's harsh, but that's true in India.
Yes. So I think one thing is, if you are in the top 10 or top 15 of the B schools in the country, then in most of the cases, if not all, you do not have to worry about the job opportunities which will be coming in your way right after your B school journey. So when it comes to paying off those loans, mostly what I have also known from a lot of my friends and seniors who have been studying in the B school, who have taken loans, they have been able to complete their loans in around 3 years, 4 years, depending upon whatever job you land up in. Okay, and depends upon the package you get right after the B school. But it's not like you cannot pay off the loan, or it would take a long amount of period for you to pay off. I think in the long run, if you are someone who wants to improve your business knowledge and would like to have a lot of opportunities in life, then you should go for an MBA degree. If you do not really have a very strong financial backing, it's okay. All the banks are more than willing to give you loans for these studying in the top 15 B schools, and it comes with almost a guarantee. If not a guarantee, it comes with almost a guarantee that you will be able to pay off the loans in the next 5 years right after you leave the B school. So yeah.
So what's the typical in-hand salary of a top tier B school graduate in India?
That would be very difficult to tell, particularly because the salary bracket, in-hand salary bracket, range varies a lot, and particularly from one B school to another, and then from one company to another for the roles that they offer, and many things else. So I think I would like to limit myself to telling that you can go and check the websites, and the website figures are mostly audited for all of the colleges. I can at least vouch for XLRI that it gets audited, so the numbers are not inflated or something. Particularly in the CTC, you will get to know about the CTC and not the in-hand salary, but you can get a rough idea of what the in-hand salary is.
Okay. So what would be your tips and career suggestions to your juniors?
I think I have covered most of it during this conversation that we had, and I've told about how juniors should take up MBA, which kind of students should take up for the MBA, and when they should take up for the MBA. But right after that, if you ask me for a couple of suggestions, I think first point that I would like to tell is get to know about the B school journey, get to know about what career opportunities you will be having after B school, and whether you would like to fit in well over there or not. Many students go for engineering without really knowing about what opportunities are there after engineering. I think many of us have done the mistake. Don't do the mistake again. Don't just get into the rush because everyone else is going into it. Get to know what you are going into, and after that start preparing for it. Secondly, if you have decided that you would like to go for MBA, put your best into the preparation, because if you get a good percentile or a very good percentile, your one leg is already inside the institute. All you need to do is take preparation for the interview and then nail it again. So I think for you should focus in the preparation phase after deciding that you should go for an MBA, and then try to convert it as soon as possible rather than delaying it and planning it. You'd give the MBA after 5 years or 4 years. It doesn't really happen that we go for the plans. Plan it for the short term. For example, if right after, as I told, right after your engineering, if you convert one of the top 10 B schools of the country, my ideal advice would be for you to join the college rather than waiting for a couple of years. As I told, you never really know what life has decisions for you later. So these are certain advices, and I think for an engineering graduate, a small suggestion I had heard from one of my seniors is PCM. We talk about it a lot, right? PCM. Here PCM stands for perseverance, P stands for perseverance, C stands for curiosity, and M stands for marketing. Be perseverance in your life, have the perseverance in your life, and C is for the curiosity. You need to be very much curious even when you join a B school, and even after going after the B school, you'll have a journey where you'll have to take a lot of decisions, catering to a lot of stakeholders. So you need to be curious and agile on your feet. And third is marketing. You need to know how you have to market yourself, no matter which domain you are in. When you pitch to the investors or you go in front of the interview, in the interviews, whenever you face the interviewers as well, you'll have to market yourself. So I think these 3 skills are very much essential for any student who is planning to go for MBA. So be sure that you are very strong in PCM, even if you are not a science student.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Himanshu Bhaiya, for this wonderful session. I hope our viewers will get a lot of motivation for an MBA, and yeah, I hope this is going to help the people.